Advisory Council that advises the national government and county government on implementation of primary healthcare services. The bill also establishes the county primary healthcare advisory committees at the county level that is tasked to ensure the effective implementation of primary healthcare through resource mobilization, advocacy, and the planning as well as development of primary healthcare service delivery. The bill is in the National Assembly for concurrence. It has already sailed through the Senate, and the members of Parliament will eventually consider it. And another bill that is set for the first reading, this bill originates from the National Assembly. It is the Legal Aid Amendment Bill. It is National Assembly Bill number 53 of 2023. That bill will be read for the first time. The Prisons Bill, National Assembly Bill number 54 of 2023, has also been lined up for the first reading. Now, the principal object of this bill is to amend the Prisons Act Cap 90 laws of Kenya in order to abolish the death penalty and the manner of its execution. The objectives of this bill are to preserve the fundamental right to life, to put an end to cruel, inhuman, and degrading treatment and punishment of condemned persons occasioned by the enforcement of the death penalty. Further, it seeks to stop the psychological trauma brought about by the death sentence and to reflect Kenya's international commitment to the abolition of the death penalty through ratification of the second operational protocol to the International Covenant on Civil as well as Political Rights. If you're just joining us, the business of the National Assembly on this 3rd day of October 2023 is about to begin. On your screen, there is some activity. The Sergeant at Arms followed by the Maize. And also on your screen, the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Gladys Bose. She is walking into the chamber to oversee the business of the National Assembly this afternoon. It is a very busy afternoon where the members will be considering, among others, motions which will be moved and considered.
Honorable members, let us pray. Almighty God, who in your wisdom and goodness have appointed the offices of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of the people, we beseech you to behold with your abundant favor as your servants whom you have been pleased to call to the performance of important trusts in this republic. Let your blessings descend upon us here assembled, and grant that we treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country and of those whose interests you have committed to our charge. Amen. I hereby direct that the bell be rung for further 10 minutes.
If you're just joining us, the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly has ordered the quorum bell be rung for 10 minutes because the House does not quorate. The number required for business of the National Assembly to begin is 50 members seated in the chamber. That is according to the provisions of the standing order. And what happens in the background is that respective leadership in the House whips the members to come take their seats, at least those who are within the precincts of Parliament. As we wait for quorum to be achieved, we'll continue taking a look at the order of business this afternoon, where the Penal Code Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 55 of 2023, will be read for the first time. Quorum has been achieved.
Sergeant at Arms, I direct that you stop the bell, and now we can proceed.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair. Order number 3, messages.
Honorable members, there's a message. Honorable members, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order number 41-4 relating to messages to and from the Senate, I wish to report to the House that on the 2nd of October 2023, I received a message from the Senate regarding passage of 2 bills. Namely, the Facilities Improvement Financing Bill, Senate Bill number 43 of 2023, and the Primary Health Care Bill, Senate Bill number 44 of 2023. Honorable members, the first message relates to the passage of Facilities Improvement Financing Bill, Senate Bill number 43 of 2023, which was published via Kenya Gazette number 168 of 15 September 2023. The bill seeks to, among other things, provide the public health facility improvement financing and management and administration of improvement financing, and was passed by the Senate with amendments on Wednesday, the 27th of September 2023. Honorable members, the second message relates to the passage of the Primary Health Care Bill, Senate Bill number 44 of 2023, which was published via Kenya Gazette Supplement number 169 of 15th September 2023. The bill seeks to, among other things, provide a framework for the delivery and access to the management of primary health care, and was passed by the Senate with amendments on Thursday, 28 September 2023. Honorable members, having passed the 2 bills, the Senate now seeks the concurrence of the National Assembly on each of the bills pursuant to Articles 110, 111, and of the Constitution, and Standing Orders 46.1 and 161 of the Senate Standing Orders. Honorable members, Standing Order number 143 of the National Assembly Standing Orders requires the Speaker to cause a bill received from the Senate to be read a first time upon conveyance of its message. In this regard, you will notice that the two bills have been listed for the first reading in today's order paper. Upon being read a first time, the bills will stand committed to the Departmental Committee on Health for consideration in line with Standing Order 143. Honorable members, noting the urgent nature of the bills, the committee is encouraged to expeditiously undertake public participation and to report to the House for onward processing of the bills. The House is accordingly guided. I thank you. Next order.
Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers.
I don't think there are any papers. Majority Leader, are there any papers? Chair Jailak has a paper.
Jailak had a paper.
Honorable Member for Tharaka Nithi. Okay, maybe I can make, I'll recognize some guests within the National Assembly while the chair of JLAC gets himself together. Honorable members, I wish to introduce to you a delegation of staff from the parliaments of Zambia and Namibia seated in the Speaker's Gallery. They are from the National Assembly of Zambia, Mr. Tennyson Nyangu, who's the Principal Clerk, Journals and Table Office. 2, Mr. Collins Ngozi, Deputy Principal Clerk, Learning and Development. 3, Mr. Kibwibwi Bubanga, Deputy Principal Clerk, Research. From the National Assembly of Namibia, there is 1, Mr. Vincent Sinalumbu, Deputy Director, Research and Information. 2, Mr. Raphael Hangalgula, Senior Information Officer. Honorable members, the staff from the National Assembly of Zambia are in the country on a visit to the Center of Parliamentary Studies and Training, CPST, to, among other things, learn about the model and the organizational structure of the center. On the other hand, the staff from the Parliament of Namibia are on a study visit to the Department of Public Communication and Media on an exchange learning on an, among other things, legislative communication strategy, social media policy, and outreach programs. Honorable members, on my own behalf and that of the National Assembly, I welcome them to the National Assembly and wish them fruitful engagement during their stay in Kenya. I thank you. Chairperson Jailak. The Honorable Sir George, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Sorry that this was delayed a little bit, but allow me, Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Tuesday, 3rd October 2023. Report of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs on its consideration of the Conflict of Interest Bill, National Assembly Bill number 12 of 2023. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I beg to lay.
Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
I think there are none. Next order. I don't see any notices of motion. The Honorable Ken Chonga, I think member for Kilifi. You are supposed to have a notice of motion. If he's not here, we can proceed. We can always pivot back to him when we come back. The Honorable Chonga? Okay.
Let me just take the seat. Sorry, Your Honor. Proceed. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to seek an adjournment of the House on a definite matter of urgent national importance regarding the skyrocketing fuel prices in the country. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to provision Standing Order number 33, subsection 1, I rise to seek leave for the adjournment of the House to discuss a definite matter of urgent national importance regarding the skyrocketing fuel prices in the country. Honorable Speaker, the Energy and Petroleum Regulation Authority, EPRA, in its latest price review, revised the fuel prices for super, petrol, diesel, and kerosene upwards by Kenya shillings 16.96, Kenya shillings 21.32, and Kenya shillings 33.13 respectively, leading to a cost of over Kenya shilling 200 shillings per litre. This surge in fuel price has caused serious apprehension among Kenyans as the prices are the highest in the country's history, taking into consideration the levels of purchasing power of the majority of the people in Kenya. Honorable Speaker, while it is acknowledged that global demand and supply factors influence the fuel prices, the sharp increase in fuel prices, coupled with the numerous taxes, will take the country's economic growth backwards, as prices of most goods and services are pegged on such rates. Instructively, taxes account to up to 40% of the fuel pricing in the country. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background, therefore, that I seek leave for the adjournment of this House to discuss this matter of urgent national importance with a view to finding sustainable solution to the ever-increasing fuel prices so as to alleviate the burden of Kenyans. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Chonga, do you have 20 members? Okay, I'm reliably informed that you have 21 members. So the matter shall be debated at 6 p.m. Actually, 6:15. 6:15, yeah. Just so that we finish the other business. Thank you. Next order.
Order number 7, questions and statements.
The Honorable Peter Lachokapong, Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Regional Development. Are you ready? Okay, proceed. Give him the mic. You may proceed. Please sit down, Honorable Kamket, so that we can get a mic for the Honorable Member. Move to your right, yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Now, this is a statement requesting for extension of time for consideration of the Regional Development Authority Bill, National Assembly Bill number 7 of 2023. Now, Honorable Speaker, I rise under Standing Order 127.5 to report the progress on the consideration of the Regional Development Authority Bill, National Assembly Bill number 7 of 2023 by the Departmental Committee on Regional Development. Now, the bill was read for the first time in this House on 6th of June 2023 and was committed to the Departmental Committee on Regional Development for consideration pursuant to Standing Order 127.3. Now, Honorable Speaker, the bill is very important as it seeks to consolidate all laws relating to regional development to provide for establishment, powers and functions of the six existing regional development bodies. Now, the bill further seeks to standardize the functions of the regional development authorities and the membership of the boards of each authority to 11 members in line with best practices in corporate governance. It also seeks to align all existing RDA acts with the provisions of the 2010 Constitution. Now, Honorable Speaker, now the committee was required to undertake public participation on the bill by inviting submissions on the memoranda, holding public hearings, consulting relevant stakeholders in the relevant sector, and consult experts on technical subjects. Now, Honorable Speaker, I wish to report that in compliance with Article 118B of the Constitution and Standing Order 127.3, now the Clerk of the National Assembly placed an advertisement in the print media on Monday, 12th of June 2023, inviting the public to submit memoranda on the bill. Now, by close of the submission deadline, the committee had received 6 memoranda from the following institutions. 1, now State Department for Asals and Regional Development. Now 2, 6 Regional Development Authorities. 3, Kenya Law Reform Commission. 4, the Council of Governors. 5, National Gender and Equality Commission. Now 6, Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee. Now, in addition, the committee met with key stakeholders to submit views on the bill on 25th and 26th August 2023. Now, Honorable Speaker, while the committee was undertaking public participation on the bill, the Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee submitted that there was a multi-agency technical team on regional development authorities comprising the 6 regional development authorities: county government, Council of Governors, Executive Office of the President, Kenya Law Reform Commission, that recommended, among other things, to align all the RDA acts with the provisions of the 2010 Constitution, which the bill is preparing to address. Now, taking into consideration the submission by IGRTC, the committee resolved to further engage the Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee on the content of the report by multi-agency technical team, and also undertake further public hearings on the bill in the counties of Kilifi, Tana River, Kisumu, Elgeyo Marakwet, and Isiolo to collect the views of the public. In view of the foregoing, Honorable Speaker, now the committee requests an extension of 60 days to further engage IGRTC, all the stakeholders involved in the multi-agency technical team, and conduct public hearing on the bill. I wish to restate our commitment to process this bill. I thank you, Honorable Speaker. Thank you very much.
Honorable Loko Chapong, I think the reasons you have given are valid, and also the list of important stakeholders that you have not been able to consult with. I think I'm inclined to approve your request for the further 50 days to undertake public participation, and we hope that you will use the opportunity to consult widely. And honorable members, I make that decision pursuant to Standing Order 127 4A, which provides that the Speaker may extend the period for public participation under paragraph 4, where various provisions of the bill proposing to amend more than one statute is in its provisions are referred to separate departmental committees. For that reason, I approve. Thank you. Yes, what's your point order, Madam Donya?
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Apologies, Honorable Donya.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to seek your indulgence. On 3rd of May, CS for Education was in this house. We asked him a question about the issuance of sanitary pads to our school-going girls.
So, Honorable Donya, you'd like to make a statement?
Yes.
Okay, proceed with your
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Indeed, I'm very grateful. The CS told us that he had directed the Ministry of Gender plus the stakeholders involved so that they finish this issue once and for all. Down the line, 5 months, our children have no sanitary pads. I come from Kisii County, Madam Speaker. I've not seen any issuance of sanitary pads to our school-going young girls. I cannot be ashamed, Madam Speaker, to say he didn't give us a correct answer, because I even asked him about our young girls and boys fetching water from the rivers. He told us, at this time we have no pupils still fetching water from the river, but as per yesterday, I received photos of MSA primary school, boys and girls fetching water from the river. So I want to get an answer as to why the women reps and other female leaders in this house have not received any positive answer towards the sanitary pads issue, even after Madam Speaker had spoken to the CS. I had even told him in our vernacular, I spoke in vernacular. I thought he was going to hear, because in English he has not given us any answer. So, Madam Speaker, please, we need to be assisted. Thank you very much.
So, Honorable Donya, I think you can do a written statement of what you've said today and just send it to, is it to the Department for Education, Social Protection, or is it Gender? Which committee? Your suggestion is I'll listen to someone else.
Both is actually education. When I asked him the question, he said we will have an engagement with the Ministry of Gender. So he was from education, and the other ministry was talking about his gender.
Okay. So I think you can be marked to both committees, education.
Thank you, Madam
and gender.
Speaker.
Thank you. Next order. What's your point of order, Honorable Jared Okello?
Madam Speaker, firstly, I thank you. And I've got two issues that need your attention, direction and assistance. And the first one relates to international travels by members of this House, together with our Secretariat, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, in the wisdom of our clerk, my good friend Samuel Njoroge, he did take the amounts allocated to international travels and apportioned them along committee lines, Honorable Speaker. At the end of the day, we realized how paltry this money is, thereby making it very difficult for committee members to travel. Madam Speaker, the benefits accruing out of international travels through workshops, benchmarkings, and I'm glad our friends from Zambia are present in this House. And many other things that we learn, Honorable Speaker, cannot be gainsaid. But if a committee comprising of 15 people, and I belong to a committee called Delegated Legislation that has up to 21 members, and another one called Budget that I think has 27 members. But with that paltry money, if you were to send only 3 members, Madam Speaker, to the US, Australia, UK, and any other country, Madam Speaker, only 3 members, the money will be depleted.
Honorable Okello, I think that's a matter that has been a directive and advice from government. I think that advice shall reach the clerk of the National Assembly, and he'll be able to deal with it administratively and communicate to members in their various committees. I think to make us try and debate it here at the House when we do not have that particular circular from government officially and not based on newspaper reports, I think is an exercise in futility. Let us proceed.
I thank you, Madam Speaker. That is not the direction I was taking, but I also said...
No, I know you, Jared. You've already, like I've said, you're alluding to something that is not properly before the House and is an administrative issue that has been sent to accounting officers. So let the accounting officers communicate the details of it to their respective institutions. No, we only have one point of order. You will sit down and then you'll ask for another different point of order. Let us proceed. What was your point of order, Honorable Gasheri?
Honorable Speaker, I thought Honorable Donya raised a general statement, so I was seeking your indulgence on whether members can have a few minutes to kindly ventilate on the issue of sanitary towels. It is a pressing concern for our girls. Thank you.
Okay, I think I can give you a chance to ventilate on it.
Thank you.
Then we'll proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, when we passed the budget in this House, we put in 940 million for procurement of sanitary towels. Honorable Donya has told this House that she had a discussion with the CS Education, who indicated that we were to have progressive consultations with the CS Gender. Honorable Speaker, I want to confirm that more than 30 county women members to the National Assembly had a sitting with the CS Gender, Aisha Jumwa. And we had a discussion on the sanitary towels, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, when we were signing the Kenya Kwanza Women's Charter, our government promised that we will give free sanitary towels, Honorable Speaker. In this day and age, sanitary towels are still a pressing concern for majority of girls in Kirinyaga County, Honorable Speaker. In parts of Moya, parts of Gishugu, parts of Ndia, parts of Kirinyaga Central, and I am certain for many constituents and many members. Honorable Speaker, as women representatives, we have exhausted our personal finances on ensuring that we buy sanitary towels so that girls can go back to schools. Honorable Speaker, I was addressing this parliament last week and I confirmed that we do not have our NGA funds as of yet, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, in all due honesty, we must be told by the CS Gender and the CS Education where is the 940 million for sanitary towels. We need that money. We need the sanitary towels as soon as yesterday, Honorable Speaker. Periods are not something that girls can say they want to do away with. It is not an option. They have periods every month, Honorable Speaker. And I want to urge this House to take that issue seriously and take it as a matter of urgency. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Member for Kirinyaga, Honorable Njeri. I only indulged you, even though there isn't a substantive statement before the House at the moment, I only indulged you because I know you had raised this issue. It had been marked to, in regards to GAF, it had been marked to the labor, I think, social protection and labor. And then now we can, I think at that time, I just indulged you for that purpose. But there's nothing substantially before the House. And before we move to the next order, allow me to recognize the presence of Pesi Day Secondary School, Laikipia West, from Laikipia County. And secondly, to recognize the presence of Wood Creek Secondary School from Roysambu constituency, Kiambu County. Both are seated in the Speaker's Gallery. I also wish to recognize, seated in the public gallery, Visa Oswald Primary School from Westlands constituency, Nairobi County. And on my own behalf and that of the National Assembly, I welcome you to the National Assembly. Thank you. Next order.
Order number 8, motion. Report of the Kenya delegation to the 146th Assembly of Interparliamentary Union, IPU, and related meetings held in the Kingdom of Bahrain. Question to be put.
Honorable Martha Wangari, I saw that you had put a point of order before I proceed to put the question.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I had only put it to support the issue of the sanitary towels, as the Honorable Njeri has raised, because I think it's overdue. Just the way condoms are free, sex you can choose, but menstruation you cannot choose. Madam Speaker, this issue, the ping pong between the Ministry of Gender and the Ministry of Education have cost our girls. The reason we are having even defilement cases, the reason we are having GBV, we have girls being lured to these traps by a packet of sanitary towels. I don't think we can actually insist more, Madam Speaker. Let us have a timeline for this statement to come to the floor.
Thank you. Honorable members, allow me to put the question and then we can. The matter is substantive before your committee, Honorable Alice Gaga. Honorable members, I now put the question that this House notes the report of the Kenya delegation to the 146th Assembly of the Interparliamentary Union and related meetings held in Manama Kingdom of Bahrain from the 11th to the 15th of March 2023, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 14th June 2023. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 9, the Facilities Improvement Financing Bill, Senate Bill number 43 of 2023, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to provide for public health facility improvement financing, the management and administration of facility improvement financing, and for connected purposes. Order number 10, the Primary Health Care Bill, Senate Bill number 44 of 2023, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to provide a framework for the delivery of, access to, and management of primary health care and for connected purposes. Order number 11, the Legal Aid Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 53 of 2023, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to amend the Legal Aid Act. Order number 12, the Prisons Bill, National Assembly Bill number 54 of 2023, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to amend the Prisons Act, Cap 90. Order number 13, the Penal Code Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 55 of 2023, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to amend the Penal Code.
Leader for majority, what's your point of order?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order number 40, and I think we discussed in the House Business Committee to request you to reorder business appearing as order number 15 to become order number 16, and the business appearing as order number 16 to take the place of order number 15.
Honorable members, following the request by the member for Kikuyu, who's also the majority leader, Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah, and pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order number 42, I reorganize the business as follows. That after Order number 13, the House will proceed to consider business appearing under Order number 16. It will now be numbered number 14. And further, that after the consideration of the business appearing on Order number 16, which is now which is now 14, the House will then proceed to consider business appearing as order number 18, which now will become order number 15 in that sequence. Your point of order, Majority Leader?
Yes, Honorable Speaker, I think we got a little mixed up. The request we needed to dispose of with order number 14, then rearrange 15 and 16. 16 now to take the place of 15.
Okay, so you want to start, you want to go after, so my direction should have been that we reorganize after order number 14.
Yes.
Yeah, we will proceed to consider business appearing under order number 16, which will now be referred to as order number 15.
Yes.
And then further, that after the consideration of the business appearing under order number 16, which will now be 15, the House will proceed to consider the business appearing as under order number 18, which will now become 16.
Perfect.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, next order.
Order number 14, motion, consideration of the protocols relating to amendments of Article 50A and 56 of the Convention on International Civil Aviation, 1944, Chicago Convention. Resumption of debate.
Honorable members, I think there was a balance of time of 2 hours, 27 minutes. I don't know if there was any member who was on their feet. Was there none? The mover. It's open. Okay. Those members who want to contribute to this particular bill, kindly press, to this debate, kindly press the intervention button. Yes, Honorable Member, Honorable GK. Chairperson Transport. It was never moved. I thought it was. It was moved. I think you were absent. Because my notes show that there was that the debate was interrupted on Thursday, September 28th, and there was a balance of 2 hours, 27 minutes. Luckily, Honorable GK, I think the good thing is this is a House of Records. So I've been given a document here in its original state, which shows that on Thursday, the 28th of September 2023, in the afternoon, the Honorable George Kariuki, which is yourself, at 16:49 moved the motion. And thereafter, the Honorable John Kiragu at 16:52 seconded the motion. And the motion was made and the question proposed, and then rising in place of the Standing Order 96, Honorable Owen Bayer claimed to move that the debate be adjourned. So yes, we seem to, so the motion was deferred for continuation today. So am I correct to say that it's we resume debate and we have 2 hours, 27 minutes? Okay, so honorable members, press the intervention button. I think the first person who's done that is the Honorable John Waweru, also known as JK, member for Dagoretti South.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and I would like to stand to support the amendments of the articles for this protocol. Madam Speaker, there is a very vibrant aviation industry that is calling. However, East Africa has been lagging behind. And Madam Speaker, my biggest concern, beyond the protocols that we are amending today, is the fact that even as we are moving as East Africa, we've got to reconsider how we are attending to matters of aviation in this country, Madam Speaker. As we speak, we are very keen to look at what is happening in the region. However, when we get home, that is where it looks like that is where we draw the line. Madam Speaker, we have a national carrier that is on its knees. Each and every member here will tell you that Kenya Airways is in the doldrums, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, even as we look and support the amendments of these protocols, we've got to know that if we are looking towards a vibrant aviation industry, we will need to also go back home and check the aviation in the home countries, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the matter of Kenya Airways is a critical matter that we might not ignore even as we are discussing this motion, Madam Speaker. There are issues that need to be taken up on the national carrier. Issue number one, Madam Speaker, is why this national carrier is perennially registering losses, Madam Speaker. And this can only point to one issue: management and governance. Madam Speaker, this House shall not continue hiding its head in the sand anymore. The national carrier is facing a governance crisis. If it takes us studying from other well-to-do airlines, Madam Speaker, we will find out that any airline that is doing well anywhere in the globe has two very critical components on its board. The boards of airlines that are doing well, for starters, have pilots sitting in those boards. Secondly, they have engineers sitting in those boards, people who understand aviation. That is not the case for Kenya Airways, Madam Speaker. In Kenya Airways, Madam Speaker, we have a way of bringing in bankers, HR people, finance people, and ultimately locking out the professionals who are the pilots and the engineers. Madam Speaker, that we must remedy. Secondly, Madam Speaker, the issue of the people working for this airline, Madam Speaker. Even as we are amending the international protocols, back here at home, Kenya Airways, which was once one of the better employers, today is an embarrassment, Madam Speaker. That is why the airline is bleeding talent left, right, and center. Our pilots are taking off, our engineers are taking off, our air hosts and hostesses are running away, Madam Speaker, and all this is pointing to the misgovernance at the highest levels, Madam Speaker. Thirdly, Madam Speaker, we have an airline that has parked a Dreamliner, Madam Speaker. The statistics are telling us that when the Dreamliner is operational, it brings in close to $1 million US dollars per flight, Madam Speaker. This is monies that will do well in contributing to the forex earnings of this country. We have 247s, Madam Speaker, that are parked in the hangars, Madam Speaker, also pointing to mismanagement. So, Madam Speaker, the point I'm trying to make is that even as we today amend these articles on the protocols, we will still need to come back home and attend to matters of aviation back at home, starting with Kenya Airways, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, I do stand to support this, and I wanted to put in my voice that even as we do this, let us look at what is happening with the national carrier. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Limuru, Honourable John Kiragu, I think you're a member of the committee. Honourable Kiragu, I'm informed that you have contributed. So let me go to the Honourable Member for Kitutu Masaba, Honourable Clive Gisairo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, but I was not to comment on this.
Please press the intervention button so that I know you want to comment on this. Press the intervention button if you want to contribute to this particular debate. The Honourable Member for Nyando, Honourable Jared Okello. Then you'll be followed by the Honourable Member for Sirisia, Honourable John Waluke.
I thank you very much, Madam Speaker. taking the cue from my friend Honorable Kierie, it is an absurdity that we have an airline that we should be very proud of as a nation, incurring losses year in, year out, Honorable Speaker. And something needs to be aggressively done, Madam Speaker. All members of parliament here travel in Kenya Airways flights. And at every given time that we fly, the flight is full. And I want to believe they're not carrying us as a charity. It is not out of convenience that members are carried in those flights. They pay for them. And not just members of parliament, everybody else who gets into that flight has paid. And you wonder, where does all this money go? So there is a problem somewhere. Whether it is managerial, we need to get to the bottom of it. Whether it is the interference by certain powers that be, we need to get to the bottom of it. Whether those who have leased those planes to Kenya Airways are demanding more than what they should get as their dues, we all need to know this, Madam Speaker. Otherwise, we have competitive airlines within the region that are going to take away the business away from us. It will be a tragedy for members of parliament and the general populace to be using other airlines to the detriment of our own, Madam Speaker. I think Kenya Airways needs a complete overhaul so that we can inject a new impetus into the business within Kenya Airways, Madam Speaker. And I'm very concerned, and I hope that the minister in charge of transport, Honorable Kipchumba Murkomen, will bite the bullet and call sin by its rightful name and make amends where necessary, so that as a country, our airline can start to be a going concern. And I thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity, and I support.
Member for Sirisia, Honorable Waluke.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for giving me a chance also to contribute on this. Madam Speaker, we are all proud of Kenya Airways as the pride of Africa. Madam Speaker, since I came to this parliament has given many billions to Kenya Airways, just trying to revive Kenya Airways. Madam Speaker, we need to call a spade if we want to save Kenya Airways. Madam Speaker, the money is taken by tiniest, and we need to say the truth so that we save this country, Madam Speaker. There are big people who siphon money from Kenya Airways, the way they siphoned Kenya Power. And those are the people who are still siphoning Kenya Airways. And Madam Speaker, note that parliamentarians doesn't know about this. Madam Speaker, this country has a problem of finance. And if we don't say the truth, if we fear being a child or being killed, Madam Speaker, we are not going to save this country, and we are not going to save Kenya Airways. Madam Speaker, for example, even the express road, the money is collected every evening and it is taken to a certain family, Madam Speaker. And this is the family that has killed Kenya Airways, this is the family that has killed Kenya Power, and this is the family that is killing this country. Madam Speaker, We cannot be giving out money in, money out, money in, money out. Even today, if we can give out money, after 2-3 days, the money is, Kenya Airways will be crying. The money will not be there. The money will be siphoned within 24/7. So, Madam Speaker, with all those...
Point of order, Honorable Atanti. And Honorable Wanjala, I think.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, the motion on the floor is not what the members are discussing. They are discussing Kenya Airways, but the motion on the floor has nothing to do with Kenya Airways. Madam Speaker, can you direct members to debate appropriately? Madam Speaker, thank you.
Okay, unless I had wrong, I think they'd established relevance, because I think the only aviation industry that they know of that they can make reference as Kenyans is Kenya Airways. So as long as they can link it, which I think I saw Honorable KJ do, then I think we can allow him to proceed. What's your point of order, Honorable Wanjala, before I go back to Honorable Member for Sirisia?
Yeah, Madam Speaker, on the same, I heard the member clearly saying that we have been allocating money in the House to Kenya Airways, but there is a family that siphons this money. I just wanted him to come clear which family is this that is siphoning money. It has to be clear. You cannot leave Parliament in suspense, because Parliament is a house of record and deals with substantive issues.
Honorable Member for Sirisia, you may proceed, but try and be able to... You're responsible for confirming the facts. Oh, the member has left. Okay, looks like the member has left. Let us proceed. Next, I have the Honorable Member for Endebess, the Honorable Robert Pugose.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for allowing me to contribute to this consideration of the protocol relating to amendments of Article 50A and 56 of the Convention on International Civil Aviation 1944 Chicago Convention. In Article number 50A, it increasing the membership from 36 to 40, while Article number 56 is also increasing the membership. Madam Speaker, when you look at the Chicago Convention, basically it has several rights. It talks of issues about the flying over airspace of different countries, the freedom for those flights to fly over there, the freedom that is to land without even disembarking of the passengers in another country, to fly back from a foreign country back to your country, on matters on even disease control from within one country to another. So these are issues, Madam Speaker, that are critical in the air aviation. When the Chicago Convention was adopted, initially had 4 articles, but subsequently it has been increased to 9. So, Madam Speaker, coming to the local, I think when members are contributing about our own pride of Africa, which is the Kenya Airways, it is that feeling that you want our flights, our Kenya Airways, to be a real pride of Africa, whereby it is in both in terms of the profit which they make, so that it's a profit-making organization, considering that most of these flights, when they are flying from our country to another country and the various destinations following this Chicago Protocol, they should be able to look at destinations where it is not a loss-making, but it's a profit-making organization. Then you wonder, when you fly all over, many of these members, when they fly all over the world, you are flying through Kenya Airways. Then you wonder, you are going to this country where the other flights are going. You hear Ethiopian Airlines is making profit. Then how come the Kenyan Airways is not making profit? This convention also talks about which are the state-owned aircrafts and which are the civil aviations. So I remember in the last parliament there was some amendments towards nationalizing the Kenya Airways. And I think it is a high time we consider, because when you compare with our neighbors, the Ethiopian Airways, it is profit-making. It's a national carrier. Kenya Airways is also a national carrier. What is it that is wrong within our carrier that is not able to make profits, that is not able to compete effectively in the various destinations with other flights? So those are issues, Madam Speaker, that I think that the Transport Committee should be able to look critically into it, come up with amendments, come up with laws that we can be able to make the Kenya Airways the pride of Africa as it should be. With those few remarks, Madam Speaker, I support.
The Honourable Member for Mandera West, Honourable Adan Haji, then you'll be followed by the Honourable Member for Nairobi County, Honourable Esther Passaris. And then the others should press the intervention button. Give the Honourable Member the mic.
Madam Speaker, I was waiting for the next one, not this one. Yeah.
Okay, let me repeat the instruction. Anyone who wants to contribute to this particular motion on consideration of the protocols relating to the amendments of Articles 50A and 56 of the Convention of the International Civil Aviation, 1944 Chicago Convention, please press the intervention button. Honorable Esther Passaris, were you also for another one or this one?
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for allowing me to contribute to the consideration of the protocols relating to the amendments of the Articles 50A and 56 of the Convention of International Civil Aviation 1944, known as the Chicago Convention. Madam Speaker, civil aviation is a global concern, and the safety in managing our civil aviation is also of global concern. We cannot be in isolation. I am really happy that they are considering membership of the Council from 36 to 40, and I hope that the continent of Africa will have adequate seats to be able to also voice their opinion on a number of issues relating to the continent. We're very proud as the continent. I mean, we had Kenya Airways as the pride of Africa, and now we've got Ethiopian Airways and Rwanda Air. And Ethiopian Airways has really set a standard that is really high to the point that, it's becoming a destination for connectivity, just like Dubai and Hong Kong. So we need to look at how, as a country, we can benefit from this protocol and how we can improve our own participation in civil aviation. Civil aviation, when you get into an aeroplane, it's a global representation of citizens from all over the world. So safety is mandatory, but also the issue of price. When you go to Europe and America, budget airlines provide really affordable transportation, and when you look at Kenya Airways, it is really pricey in comparison with the global north and how they price their travels. So we will need to figure out how, as a country, we can not only improve on our civil aviation in terms of price, but also in terms of safety. When a country belongs to protocols and conventions and is a signatory, then we can also raise our standards. Where you have a country where corruption may be rife and we're not focusing on improving our standards, then when we sign up to such convention, it actually is a check and balance for us as a country to make sure we up our standards and improve in terms of our safety, in terms of our training. I have to say that one of the best airlines that offers the best landing is Kenya Airways. You will always have a smooth landing when you come to the runway. Our pilots were one of the best trained, and I still believe that they are the best trained. We've also liberalized and included gender. We've got female pilots as well, which we're very proud of. So I believe that the Transport Committee has actually been wise to bring this for us to consider. And being part of this protocol will mean that our civil aviation, in terms of safety, in terms of pricing, in terms of standards, will go higher. But this is also a challenge for the management of Kenya Airways, which was our pride of Africa, to look at where did they go wrong and how can they improve so that we can actually get back our position as the pride of Africa. Because today, when you look at the airlines, by comparison, I think Ethiopian Airways has really upped the standards. We are proud of that. We saw South African Airlines go down, but we should be thinking of these protocols not just as Kenya, but as the continent of Africa. Because as the continent of Africa, we've got to figure out how we are going to become independent and of the controls of the West. We also have to make sure that these protocols favor the continent of Africa and do not make us become dependent and lose our ground in terms of being monopolized by the Western airlines. So all in all, I support the motion and I congratulate the Transport Committee for bringing this to the floor of the House. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Buri, Honourable Mugambi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to support this rectification. Madam Speaker, this is not the matter per se of Kenya Airways. It's a matter of Civil Aviation Authority working in conjunction with 198 member countries that is bringing this amendment so that in terms of air transport and management, security, financial responsibilities, crisis management on the matters of air transport, and shared responsibilities. Madam Speaker, Kenya Civil Aviation plays a great part in the management of airspace in this country. There are so many issues that we have to take into account when it comes to the management of the civil activities in our airspace. Therefore, Kenya is being called upon to rectify the membership from 36 to 40, that's Article 50A, and Article 56, which calls for the Air Navigation Commission membership from 19 to 21. Therefore, Madam Speaker, this is a very important rectification that Kenya becomes a global player in the civil aviation management, that Kenya will benefit from other countries when it comes to the airspace management, because we have shared responsibility like the satellite, which the aircraft use on flight. Madam Speaker, Kenya Airways benefit from these conventions because it's our carrier, our transport carrier for air transport. Madam Speaker, the reason why members are agitated is because Kenya Airways has totally failed as a state, despite for us being members of the Chicago Convention. Kenya Airways has earned all the privileges that they can fly into any member countries, the 198. But because of its limitations caused by poor management, Madam Speaker, it hasn't been able to benefit much from this convention. Therefore, I state and support that this amendment be rectified by this House, and argue Kenya Airways, wherever they are hearing the concern of members, that the declining performance of Kenya Airways is causing a lot of concern to this country, and sometimes it doesn't make sense to be part of these conventions if we are not benefiting it as a country. Madam Speaker, I support.
I think I had the Honourable Member for Chebalungu, but it turns out he has pulled out his card. So now I'll go to the Honourable Member for Kitui West, Honourable Edith Nyense. She's not here.
I'm here.
Okay.
Thank
there
you.
you are.
Thank you, Speaker, for this opportunity to speak to this motion on aviation. And I'll go straight to talk about Kenya Airways. where also members have talked about. It's actually this national carrier, that is the KQ, has been mismanaged. Although it's actually written Pride of Africa, but it's not really the Pride of Africa. I wish it would be the Pride of Africa, and as compared to the other aviation carriers, I think it should be amongst the best because it's one of the oldest carriers. But the mismanagement has really been noted because I would call it mismanagement because it's the most expensive aircraft. It's very expensive as compared to the others, and they do not keep time. Every time you hear a flight has been cancelled, yet passengers are paid, passengers have trust in it. So, Madam Speaker, I would say that it's not the Pride of Africa, but we should improve on it because we have the tools. Every time the government keeps on putting more money into this aircraft, but it has not improved. So I would say that if things were put in order, then it would be one of the best aircrafts in the world. So my take is that the management of the aircraft should be looked into so that it remains the Pride of Africa. Thank you.
Thank you. There being no other interventions or interest in this matter, I now call upon the mover to reply.
Honorable Speaker, I wish to thank honorable members for their support and insightful contribution on this Chicago Convention debate. Honorable Speaker, the ratification of the amendments on the increase of membership in the ICAO Council provides an opportunity for Kenya to lobby for Part 2 membership, that is a permanent council member seat, upon entry into force of these amendments. Additionally, Honorable Speaker, membership on the ICAO Council enables a state to actively participate in the global aviation policy formulation and adoption. Further, Honorable Speaker, Kenya stands to gain through access to multiple opportunities, especially deployment of Kenyans for service in ICAO through access to job placements, secondments, and engagement as short-term experts to ICAO. Kenya is a key player in the aviation sector in the region. Notably, Kenya was elected as a Part 3 member of the Council on 4th October 2013 for a 3-year term from 2013 to 2016. Kenya was subsequently re-elected to serve from October 7, 2016 until October 6, 2019 for a second term. Honorable Speaker, the protocols relating to the amendments are consistent with the Constitution and promote constitutional values and objectives. In addition, there are no additional obligations imposed by the protocol relating to the amendments of the convention other than those in the initial convention. Further, the ratification of the amendments to the convention will be incorporated into existing institutional frameworks that the Kenya Civil Aviation Authority has made provision for, and therefore there is no budgetary changes envisaged. Honorable Speaker, there are no implications on the matters relating to counties as is required by our Constitution. Honorable Speaker, just to inform the House, the Chicago Convention was signed on 7th December 1944 by 52 states, and Kenya became a signatory to the convention on 1st May 1964. There are currently 193 contracting states to the convention. The convention objective is to regulate international air transport and establish the International Civil Aviation Organization, what we call ICAO, a specialized agency of the United Nations charged with the administration of the principles laid out in the convention. And Honorable Speaker, the 96th article of the Chicago Convention established the privileges and restrictions of all contracting states. And the convention accepts the principle that every state has complete and exclusive sovereignty over the airspace above its Honorable Speaker. The convention accepts the principle that every state has complete and exclusive sovereignty over the airspace above its territory and provides that no scheduled international air service may operate over or into the territory of the contracting states without its previous consent. Honorable Speaker, the agreement is very critical, as once it is ratified, it will bring several benefits to Kenya, which includes the enhanced cooperation and collaboration in the investigation of aircraft accidents and incidents. This will also include the sharing of resources among partner states, utilizing common guidance materials, accidents investigation manuals, and handbooks. The sharing of safety information will contribute to a more comprehensive understanding of aircraft accidents, causes, and preventive strategies. Honorable Speaker, having said that, I beg to reply. Thank you, honorable members. Honorable Speaker, thank you.
Honorable members, I now put the question that this House adopts the report of the Departmental Committee on Transport and Infrastructure on its declaration of the protocols relating to the amendments to Article 50A and Article 56 to the Convention on the International Civil Aviation 1944 Chicago Convention, laid on the table of this House on Thursday, 17th August 2023, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 8.4 of the Treaty Making and Ratification Act 2012, approves the ratification of the protocols relating to the amendments to Article 50A and Article 56 to the Convention on the International Civil Aviation 1944 Chicago Convention. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. That you're out of order. I heard you clearly. Next order.
Order number 15, the Statute Law Miscellaneous Amendments Bill, National Assembly Bill number 60 of 2022. Second reading.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the Statute Law Miscellaneous Amendments Bill, National Assembly Bill number 60 of 2022 be now read a second time. Honorable Speaker, the Statute Miscellaneous Amendments Bill of 2022, Honorable Speaker, is, as the title says, a miscellaneous amendment, and is customary to, as is customary, Honorable Speaker, this bill seeks to amend various statutes. And Honorable Speaker, it is worth noting that the majority of the amendments in this particular bill, Bill number 60 of 2022, seeks to harmonize various acts of Parliament with the functions of the office of the DPP and Article 157 of the Constitution, which defines the role of the DPP as the person in charge of undertaking all criminal proceedings, prosecution of all criminal proceedings, while the Attorney General has a role to act as a principal legal advisor of government. Honorable Speaker, this bill seeks to amend a number of acts, as I said, beginning with the Penal Code. And Honorable Speaker, members will be able to peruse and see that the Penal Code, Cap 63, is being amended by deleting the expressions that are contained in Section 146, which in many ways could be perceived to be discriminatory towards persons with mental disabilities. And you know, Honorable Speaker, it is now policy and indeed a constitutional requirement that we mainstream the involvement of all persons, including persons living with disabilities, up to and including mental disability. Honorable Speaker, that is why we must not have anything within our penal code that seems to be discriminatory against people living with mental disability. And Honorable Speaker, mental disability could be interpreted in different ways, Honorable Speaker. Not just the known ways of those people that we see in mental institutions, but there are many people who are with us, living in society, but have certain mental disabilities, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, if you can protect me from the Honorable Kangogo, who is whispering behind me that including Parliament, that those shouting might be suffering from one form or the other of a mental disability. And because, Honorable Speaker, I don't want to take that route of Honorable Kangogo, who is whispering that the Honorable Masara, who just shouted when you called the vote on the previous statute, could be in that category. I don't want to get there. It's Honorable Kangogo who is whispering, because we cannot be imputing improper motive on Honorable Masara, even when he opts to use his mouth to express displeasure with the way the vote has gone. As much as I'm sure he does not know what was being voted for, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the other thing is on the Criminal Procedure Code, Honorable Speaker, where Cap 75, where we are seeking to harmonize terms in that particular provisions, to harmonize them with the provisions of the Constitution and the National Police Service Act of 2011. Additionally, it proposes to amend the Act to allow the Director of Public Prosecution to delegate his powers to specified officers to delete offenses provided for in the Sexual Offences Act. Honorable Speaker, the other provision is in the Evidence Act, Cap 80, which seeks to expand the definition of the term photograph. Honorable Speaker, the Honorable KJ, who is very good in some of these issues to do with photography, innovation, image rights, and all that, and the digital economy, will tell you that what is in our Evidence Act today is very restrictive in terms of definition of what a photograph is that can be adduced in court as evidence. And therefore, we are seeking to expand this to allow even digital photographs in line with current technological advancements, Honorable Speaker, so that now even a digital photograph can be used in court. But of course, with the necessary safeguards to ensure that those who are very good at photoshopping are not also photoshopping images that can be used in court. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, the Evidence Act will be amended with these miscellaneous statutes to just expand that definition of what a photograph is, in line with the technological advancements with digitization. Honorable Speaker, the bill also touches on the Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Act of 2003 to allow the EACC, or the Commission, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, to seek for a court order to allow the Commission to order that a state officer who is under investigation or one who is charged with corruption or economic crimes can be barred from accessing their office or exercising powers of that office where the public officer is likely to interfere in investigations in any way. Honorable Speaker, this is particularly important because the most recent example, Honorable Speaker, is that of the matter between the Ministry of Water, the outgoing or the former CEO of Adi Water Services Board. Honorable Speaker, you remember EACC is said to have written a letter to the minister asking the minister to suspend a chief executive officer who EACC was investigating. Honorable Speaker, without casting any aspersions on the minister, it was reported in the media, and I'm just saying this because it was reported in the media. I have not verified the veracity of what we have been watching in the media, that the minister apparently wrote back to EACC asking EACC to disclose the nature of complaint, who the complainant is. Honorable Speaker, from where I sit, I wondered, EACC is an independent constitutional commission that investigates anybody and everybody, including cabinet secretaries. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, there is no cabinet secretary who can pretend to have powers to direct EACC or even to ask EACC to adduce information or to provide information as to what they're investigating and who the complainant is. EACC has powers to investigate anything touching on the integrity of public officers and those who are charged with public office, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, ministers and other senior government officers must never imagine that they can write to EACC and ask them, first, before I act, disclose who the complainant is. EACC does not even need to have a complainant. They should be able to move on their own motion and investigate any matter and investigate anybody and everybody, Honorable Speaker, including the leader of majority and the cabinet secretaries themselves. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, because the President has been very emphatic, and all ministers in government must be seen to be in tandem with what the President is saying on matters touching on corruption. Because the President cannot be saying mambo ni matatu on issues touching on corruption, and ministers in government are speaking a different language. Worst of all, speaking a different language to the constitutional offices, commissions charged with the responsibility of dealing with matters corruption, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, I know many a times we are tempted to speak for ministers, especially if they come from our background, Honorable Speaker. And I have said, not more than once, from where I stand in this House, on matters advancing government policy in the House, as leader of majority, I will do all that I can to advance government policy on behalf of even cabinet secretaries. But on matters touching on accountability in government, matters touching on transparency in how you conduct yourself while in office, as a minister, as a state officer, Honorable Speaker, there shall be no compromise. And I shall never stand here to defend any cabinet secretary, any, whether you are from my community, whether you are my brother or my sister. Before the last elections, when we gave you work to work as a cabinet secretary, you must work for the people of Kenya. Don't work for the people from your backyard. Don't work to protect officers because they come from your backyard. Work for services to be delivered to the people of Kenya who have put you in that office. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, I needed to say that, Honorable Speaker, because these amendments are speaking to that EACC will now amend the law to allow EACC that if they're investigating any public officer, including a cabinet secretary, leave alone those who are subordinate to cabinet secretaries, EACC should be able to go to court and be able to get orders from a court to bar you from accessing your office, so that you do not interfere with evidence and you do not use your time and space in that office to cover up for your own theft of public resources. Because if we are to realize this mambo ni matatu, to take people to jail over corruption, we must make sure that they are also not able to use their offices to cover up for their own theft, Honorable Speaker. We have spoken at length about state capture. State capture pervades because people are in government. People have the means to steal, then cover up for that theft. Honorable Speaker. It now must be very difficult for state officers to steal from the people and use the same officers to cover themselves up, Honorable Speaker. And I speak that with a lot of passion, Honorable Speaker, because I truly believe in that mantra of mambo ni matatu. Honorable Speaker, there is nothing out of order, Honorable Speaker. I was moving on EACC, Honorable Speaker.
Let's just allow him to ventilate on his point of order before you proceed. What's your point of order, Honorable Okello? Provided you stay within relevance. Because you're notorious.
Yes. You must put what standing order is standing order.
Yes, your standing order.
Okay.
Which standing order are you basing your point of order on?
Madam Speaker, I think it's becoming a tired line that lots of lamentations come from this House, the executive, as regards the conduct of cabinet secretaries, Madam Speaker. And my brother, Honorable Ichung'wah, has properly captured this matter. Madam Speaker,
Honorable Okello,
this is what I'm saying. Let me come to my point, Madam Speaker.
Honorable
Madam Speaker,
Okello, just what's your point of the standing order upon which you're standing to make your point of order?
Madam Speaker, this lamentation has come from none other than the topmost office, their own employer, Honorable William Ruto. When he said
Honorable
that he
Okello,
knows
I just
more...
asked you to follow the standing orders. Just state the standing order upon which you're raising your point of order.
Okay.
Don't start straight to debate or to respond directly to Honorable Ichung'wah. You're not responding to Honorable Ichung'wah, you speak through the speaker.
Yes.
So just rise legitimately.
Yes.
Quote the standing order.
Check standing order number 40. Madam Speaker.
Point of order, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, point of order.
Madam Speaker, the lamentations have come from none other than President William Samoei Ruto. But again, he went ahead.
Honorable Okello, I will read standing order number 40, which talks about sequence of proceedings. Standing order number 40 says, each day after the prayers have been said and the House has been called to order, the business of the House shall be proceeded with the following sequence. A, administration of oath. B, communication from the chair. C, messages. D, petitions. E, papers. F, notices of motion. G, questions and statements. H, motions and bills. Okay, I think we'll just proceed. Honorable Majority Leader, you can proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. You know, the Honorable Jared Okello is fond of such interruptions, and I must commend you, Madam Speaker, because this is the way you should conduct business in the House. That when a member seeks to stand on a standing order, they must be able to say on what standing order. But I believe Honorable Jared Okello was here earlier when I used standing order number 42 to reorder business, and he was simply trying to copy me. But I would encourage you to copy me on constituency matters. Honorable Speaker, I was saying in terms of matters touching on EACC, the bill further seeks to amend the Leadership and Integrity Acts of 2012, Bill number 19 of 2012, to allow the EACC again to verify the suitability of candidates intending to apply to be appointed to a public entity and to make recommendation to the recruiting entity on the integrity and suitability of the candidates. Honorable Speaker, you know all that has happened even as we vet cabinet secretaries, principal secretaries, and other state officers. The institutions that are recruiting or vetting will ordinarily write to EACC, and they write back to you, telling you whether this person has any matters pending before EACC. But now, with this particular amendment, we are seeking to give EACC the powers to be able to make a recommendation on the suitability of candidates to be able to take up appointment in public offices, Honorable Speaker, so that if EACC, for instance, is not investigating you, but they have information that points to your not being suitable, or non-suitability to hold public office. And case example, Honorable Speaker, is probably governors who have been charged, who have been impeached, and maybe never ended up being charged. And in the view of EACC, with credible evidence, those are people who should not be able to hold public office. Then if they are applying for a job as a principal secretary or something, or any other public office, EACC should be able to look at your suitability, verify, and be able to make recommendation as to whether you are suitable to hold public office. It additionally proposes to allow the High Court, on application by any person, to declare the assumption of office by a state officer to be invalid for want of executing a commitment to the specific leadership and integrity code. Therefore, even if you have been appointed to public office and you are required to execute a specific commitment on the leadership and integrity code, and you have failed to do so, then any person can petition the High Court to have you be removed from office, or your assumption of office as a state officer be declared invalid. Honorable Speaker, the other matter touched on by this bill touches on the Merchant and Shipping Act of 2009, deleting Section 16, which restricts ship owners from providing several services in the maritime industry, including crewing agencies, pilotage, clearing and forwarding agencies, and port facility operator, among others. Honorable Speaker, you remember this follows the declaration of the section as an unconstitutional provision in the Shipping Act by the High Court in September of 2020, and this therefore allows the revival of the Kenya National Shipping Line. Therefore, that particular amendment is to align with the High Court declaration of that particular Section 16 as unconstitutional, because it barred ship owners from providing several services, and the courts did find that that particular provision was unconstitutional. Honorable Speaker, the other act is on the Prevention of Organized Crimes Act of 2010, and the bill seeks to enhance the penalty for organized crimes and to extend the period in which an order obtained in relation to tracing of property shall lapse. It also seeks to apply the term Inspector General in place of as the authorized officer in place of the term that is in the Act of Commission of Police, in line with the terminology that is now used under the current Constitution. And Honorable Speaker, members will appreciate the prevalence and danger exposed to our country on issues to do with organized crime. Not just organized crime in small scale, in our backyards, in our constituencies, where gangs are coming together and stealing from people, but also organized crimes of larger scale nature, touching on crimes, economic crimes. And therefore, the period that was provided for under the Act, Honorable Speaker, was not adequate, and we seek now to extend this period so that if the police have an order that they have obtained for tracing of property from organized crime, including those who are looting from public office, then they will have a longer time to be able to trace such property. Honorable Speaker, the other act being touched on is the Judicature Act, Cap 8 of our laws. And in this particular amendment, Honorable Speaker, we are seeking to increase the number of judges who are serving as Court of Appeal judges from the current 30 to 70 judges. Honorable Speaker, members are aware, because the judiciary has been very keen in taking services closer to the people, that as much as we have been able to devolve the High Court from Nairobi to many of our counties, and the judiciary has worked very hard to ensure that we have courts at least at every county headquarter, and some that are still under construction, and others where judges actually hold stations for the High Court. But the same has not been possible with the Court of Appeal because of the limited number of judges in the Court of Appeal, and this was limited by the number stipulated in the Judicature Act, Cap 8. Therefore, we want to increase that number to 70. Members, you remember, I think in the last elections, there is a matter that went to the Court of Appeal and the Court of Appeal had to sit at night to be able to deal with that matter a few days, actually I think the day before, just before elections. And if the Court of Appeal had adequate judges, then they'll be able to deal with matters where appellate matters coming from the High Court and other courts in time. Therefore, that particular amendment will just be seeking to increase the number of judges in the Court of Appeal. On the Kenya Roads Board Act, Honorable Speaker, and the Chair, Honorable GK, Chair of Transport and Infrastructure, will bear me witness that the Kenya Roads Board has had a current membership of 13 members. It's actually amongst the largest boards in the country. And they want to now align with the Mwongozo policy to be able to have 9 members instead of the current 13 members. Honorable Speaker, the last one is on the Bribery Act of 2016. And here we seek to include both private and public entities in the scope of the application of the Bribery Act. Because, Honorable Speaker, members will agree with me, and indeed Kenyans, that matters dealing with bribery or corruption are not just matters that touch on public offices and public officers. That indeed the key drivers of corruption, even in public entities, are private entities that are seeking opportunities of doing business with government. Honorable Speaker, the laws, as they were, target only public entities and had excluded private entities. And now we want to bring into the purview of the Bribery Act the private entities so that we indeed make the fight against corruption possible and easy for the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission and other investigative agencies to be able to deal lawfully with people who are engaging in bribery, whether you're in the private sector or in the public sector, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, with those very many remarks, the bill, as had been published, Honorable Speaker, had various other amendments, but you do recall last week in the communication made by the Speaker, we did drop a number of those provisions that we shall therefore not be considering in this bill. And those are just some of the matters in line with the Speaker's communication last week. With those many remarks, Honorable Speaker, I beg to move and request the Honorable Kangogo Bowen to second.
Vigorously for the responsive harnessing of these invaluable resources. Let us unite across the party lines in the Third Senate machinery to drive discussion on how Lake Turkana can become symbol of a sustainable development, inclusivity, and prosperity. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir.
Senator Lominen, proceed with your second statement, please.
Mr. Speaker, I rise pursuant to the Standing Order 52-1 to make a statement on a matter of countrywide and general topical concern, namely the displacement and aggression faced by the Turkana community. Mr. Speaker, sir, as we convene this Senate Mashinani, hosted here in the heart of Turkana County, I am compelled to shed light on this matter of grave concern that affects the very core of existence of Turkana people. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Turkana community, which is known for its resilience, vibrant culture, and unique way of life, has inhabited a vast and diverse land space historically. Turkana County, which covers an extensive 77,000 square kilometers, has been the ancestral home of the Turkana people for generations. However, in recent years, they have faced unprecedented challenges that threaten their very existence. Mr. Speaker, sir, the factors behind this displacement aggression are cattle rustling and tribal conflicts with the neighboring pastoral community, which recently escalated to the killing of people in borderline regions. These activities by heavy and armed bandits have inflicted immense suffering to the people and led to the displacement of Turkana community from affected regions. Mr. Speaker, secondly, encroachment by communities from the neighboring countries of Uganda, Southern Sudan, and Ethiopia, as in the case in Nadapal, where there exists conflict with the Toposa tribe of Southern Sudan. The Ethiopia and Uganda border regions have also experienced conflict fueled by search for grazing and land and water. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is imperative that we address these issues conclusively, focusing on safeguarding the Turkana community while preserving their land's integrity. I propose the following solution to this problem, Mr. Speaker. 1, promotion of peaceful coexistence with the neighboring communities by establishing and addressing the root causes of conflict through dialogue, peace caravans, and community engagement. 2, collaboration between the relevant authorities in the country and the neighboring countries to secure the border regions and resolve the land disputes diplomatically. Thirdly, Mr. Speaker, proper promotion of sustainable resource management practices to ensure equitable utilization of land, water, and grazing resources while preserving the environment. Fourthly, Mr. Speaker, empowerment of the Turkana community through education and skill development to reduce vulnerability. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is our duty as representatives of the people to protect the interests of all the Kenyans, and in this case, the Turkana community, the unwarranted displacement and urgent need for the limitation of internal borders of the counties of Turkana, Samburu, Baringo, and West Pokot cannot be gainsaid. During this time, I explore all the senators to lend their attention and support advocacy to the critical issue. This well-being and prosperity of the Turkana people depends on our ability to address these matters promptly and decisively. And thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Next, clerk. We have finished the statements under Order 52.1. We are now going to statements under Standing Order 53.1. Nominated Senator George Mbugua.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53.1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Land, Environment and Natural Resources regarding the leasing of idle public land to farmers. In the statement, the committee should, 1, table a list of all underutilized public land with the allocations, the custodian government agencies, and plans to put them to productive use. 2, provide an update on the implementation of the government's plan to commercialize idle public land to address the food deficit and increase agricultural productivity, stating the acreage and location of public land leased out to private investors for crop and livestock farming, the lease period and the cost of the leases. And 3, report on the economic, social, or environmental benefits derived from the productive utilization of public land, stating measures put in place to monitor and ensure that the leased public land is put to intended use. And 4, appraise the Senate of measures established to ensure transparency, accountability, and fairness in the allocation of idle public land by government agencies, indicating initiatives in place to encourage the participation of the youth and persons living with disabilities in the process. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Karungo Bangwa.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53.1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Land, Environment and Natural Resources on the mitigation efforts by the government to control the overflow of Karimeno II Dam. 1, the department should spell out plans in place, if any, to mitigate the effects of the anticipated El Nino rains on the residents of Karimeno in Gatondo North, residing in close proximity to Karimeno II Dam. 2, state actions taken by the government to achieve a permanent solution for the continuous overflow of the dam, given the persistent destruction it has caused to the residents in the area. 3, state plans by the government to ensure the timely relocation and compensation of the residents of Karimeno whose lands have been submerged due to the rising water levels. And 4, elucidate on the safety measures implemented in the vicinity of the dam, particularly in response to the increased number of fatalities in the area. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. Senator William Cheptumo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53.1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Land, Environment and Natural Resources regarding the settlement of outstanding compensation claims for deaths and injuries caused by snake bites. In the statement, the committee should, 1, indicate a status of settlement of approved compensation claims by the Kenya Wild Service arising out of the deaths and injuries from snake bites that were reported between 2014 and 2021, particularly in Baringo County, as well as the expected timeline and measures in place for the expeditious settlement of any outstanding claims. 2, state plans, if any, by the government to develop antivenom for the treatment of snake bites, highlighting the projected timelines, objectives, and guiding policy. And thirdly, provide details on the procurement and pre-county distribution of antivenom for the provide details in the procurement per county distribution of antivenom from 2020 to date, explaining any plans or initiatives in place to enhance the availability and accessibility of antivenom in areas with high reported cases of snake bites, including in Baringo County. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Mohammed Chute, Marsabit County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I have 3 statements. I'll read 3 of them. Madam Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53.1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on National Cohesion, Equal Opportunity and Regional Integration. In the statement, the committee should, 1, state the mechanism in place to ensure that persons with disabilities, women, and minorities are adequately represented in state agencies, including Kenya National Highway Authority, Kenya Urban Roads Authority, Kenya Rural Roads Authority, Kenya Medical Supplies Agency, Kenya Veterinary Vaccine Production Institute, Kenya Agricultural Livestock Research Organization, Kenya Medical Research Institute, Kenya Ports Authority, Public Service Commission, and Kenya Maritime Authority, tabling evidence detailing the recruitment practices and quotas, if any, for these particular groups, and 2, provide evidence that the above-mentioned state agencies are ensuring that there is exclusivity and equal representation in their recruitment, tabling audits or assessment, if any, undertaken in the last 3 years to ascertain the level of inclusivity in recruitment process. My second statement, Madam Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53.1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Agriculture, Livestock, Fisheries on vaccine production and distribution at the Kenya Veterinary Vaccines Production Institute, KVAVAPI. In the statement, the committee should, 1, provide details about vaccine produced by KVAVAPI from 2010 to date, stating the types and quantities of these vaccines used, how many expired to. Number 2, indicate where and when these vaccines were administered and report the number of beneficiaries categorized by their geographical locations. And finally, state the percentage of raw materials locally sourced and those imported in vaccine production. Madam Speaker, the third one, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53.1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Education regarding the status of construction of technical and vocational education and training institutions. In the statement, the committee should, 1, provide an update on the status of construction projects for TVET institutions undertaken by the government since 2013, particularly in the counties of Garissa, Wajir, Mandera, Marsabit, Turkana, Samburu, West Pokot, and Baringo, explaining any disparities between the contractual and actual commencement and completion dates. Number 2, inform the Senate of how the projects were tendered, providing details on the bids received, contractors who won the award, and the respective bids amounts. And finally, Madam Speaker, indicate the expected completion dates of all ongoing TVET construction projects, outlining measures put in place to ensure their timely completion and fast-track their operationalization. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. It's Senator Hamida Kibwana.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have 3 statements, but I'll read 2 of them. I'll start with the first one, Madam Speaker. the abuse in care homes for the elderly. Arise, Madam Speaker, arise pursuant to Standing Order 53.1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Labour and Social Welfare regarding reports of abuse of people residing in care homes for elderly people at the PCA Thogoto Care Home for the Aged, as highlighted by an investigative news featured by BBC Africa Eye. In the statement, the committee should conduct an immediate investigation into allegations of mistreatment of the aged at the PCA Thogoto Care Home for elderly people. 2, explain what immediate steps are being taken to ensure that all care homes, including the PCA Thogoto Care Home, comply with established standards. And 3, review existing regulations and standards governing care homes, including staffing and care levels, and make recommendations for those who fail to meet these standards to protect residents' rights and well-being. I will proceed with the second statement. Madam Speaker, arise pursuant, it's on plastic and synthetic waste dumped in Kenya. Madam Speaker, arise pursuant to Standing Order 53.1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee of Land, Environment and Natural Resources regarding dumping of textile, plastic and synthetic waste in Kenya. In the statement, the committee should, number 1, detail the steps that relevant state agencies have taken to ensure that Kenya does not become a dumping ground for substandard textile imported into the country. Number 2, present a comprehensive report in collaboration with the Ministries of Investments, Trade and Industry, Foreign and Diaspora Affairs and Environment, Climate Change and Forestry, outlining the handling of textile and plastic waste originating from international products within Kenya. And number 3, investigate the feasibility of implementing a take-back or circular economy program involving returning and repurposing unsellable and non-biodegradable items in collaboration with exporting countries. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Samson Cherarike.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Request for statement on the unsettled bills owed to the Kenya Medical Supplies Agency, or KEMSA. Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53.1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Health concerning bills owed by counties to the Kenya Medical Supplies Agency's KEMSA. In the statement, Madam Speaker, the committee should, 1, state the amount currently pending in bills that counties owe KEMSA, or Kenya Medical Supplies Agency. Number 2, Madam Speaker, state the total amount in pending bills owed to KEMSA by other entities outside counties and other medical institutions. Madam Speaker, number 3, appraise the Senate on the ongoing reforms at Kenya Medical Supplies Agency, stating the strategies and plans, if any, being employed to address delays in supplying medical commodities and other supplies to the great counties of the Republic of Kenya. And finally, Madam Speaker, disclose the nature of agreements and terms of engagement and conditions that have been established between the county governments, 47 of them, and medical suppliers, stating the amount that the county governments owe to these suppliers for the last 3 years outside the Kenya Medical Supplies Agencies. Madam Speaker, and I request that this issue be dispensed as practicably as soon as possible. Madam Speaker, with that, I thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Chirodike. Next order.
Order number 8, the e-health bill, Senate Bills number 32 of 2023, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to provide a framework for provision of telemedicine, m-health, health tourism, licensing of health e-waste undertakings, the roles of the national and county governments, and for connected purposes.
Next.
Order number 9, the Digital Health Bill, National Assembly Bill number 57 of 2023, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to provide for the establishment of the Digital Health Agency, to provide a framework for provision of digital health services, to establish a comprehensive integrated digital health information system, and for connected purposes.
Next order.
Order number 10, the Social Health Insurance Bill, National Assembly Bill number 58 of 2023, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to establish the framework for the management of social health insurance, to provide for the establishment of the Social Health Authority, to give effect to Article 43(1)(a) of the Constitution, and for connected purposes.
Honorable Senators, we are done with the bills which were going through first reading. We are now going to motions, so next order.
Order number 11, motion, extension of the mandate of the ad hoc committee to investigate the proliferation of religious organizations and the circumstances leading to the deaths of more than 95 people in Shakahola, Kilifi County.
Senator Danson Mogatana, you're moving this motion.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move in an amended fashion under Order 62 that aware that at the sitting of the Senate held on the Thursday, 27th April 2023, the Senate by resolution established an ad hoc committee to investigate the proliferation of religious organizations and the circumstances leading to the deaths of more than 95 people in Shakahola, Kilifi County. Appreciating that the initial mandate of the Select Committee was due to lapse on Wednesday, 26 July 2023, but was extended for a further 30 days at a sitting of the Senate held on Tuesday, 1st August 2023, to allow the committee to conclude the investigations owing to the evolving nature of the matter at the time, with discovery of new grave sites. Noting that the renewed mandate of the committee lapsed on the 5th September 2023, and the committee is yet to meet a number of key stakeholders in order to prepare a comprehensive report. Now, therefore, the Senate resolves to renew the mandate of the ad hoc committee by a further period not exceeding 7 days from the 5th October 2023, and to table its final report in the Senate on or before the 11th October 2023. Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the last paragraph simply says that the Senate resolves to renew the mandate of the ad hoc committee by a further period not exceeding 14 days from the 5th October 2023. Madam Speaker, this is a motion that was agreed by the entire committee, and the reason for it was very simple. Madam Speaker, the committee was the opinion that there are some extremely important
What is your point of order, Honorable Senator?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, Senator Mungatana is one of the ranking members in this House, and he's moving a motion which is different from the motion that we have on the order paper. Madam Speaker, could we be guided why the motion reads 7 days and is moving a motion that reads 14 days?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Obviously,
Senator Johnson.
my friend and colleague wasn't listening, because if you are listening, you would hear that I moved under Standing Order 63 in an amended fashion. And I had sought the indulgence of the Speaker. This motion was meant to be moved in Turkana. We agreed it's 14 days for practical reason. Madam Speaker, we must...
Senator, it is Standing Order 62. You
62.
may wish to be guided.
Yes, thank you. Madam Speaker, we have to serve the witnesses and give them clear 7 days. Now, if we give only 7 days from today, it will mean this summons will be typed today, go for approval tomorrow. Those are 2 days gone. Then the sergeant attempts to serve on the 3rd day. Those are 3 days gone. And when you serve the witness and you give them less than 7 days, the witness may choose to ignore those summonses. So, Madam Speaker, just for practical legal reasons and standing advised by the legal people in this Senate, we are asking for 14 days so that we can be able to get the summonses out, give the sergeant at arms enough time to serve the summonses, 7 clear days, and then we can have a sitting to conclude this committee. So, Madam Speaker, I've explained those. The main reason is that we need to conclude this report, and we are just about to conclude this report, except that the committee was of the view that we need to meet at least 3-4 witnesses whom we have directed summons to be served upon them. So, Madam Speaker, I beg to move, and I ask the Honorable Senator David Wakoli to second the motion. I thank you.
Asante
Senator
sana.
Wakoli.
Asante sana Spika kwa nafasi hii. Ningependa kusema kwamba kamiti ya Shakahola tulijadili kwa mapana na marefu, na kwamba wahusika wakuu katika mchakato wa kupambanua na kupata ukweli wa mambo yanayoendelea kule Shakahola hawakupewa nafasi mwafaka ya kuja kujieleza, na ili kuhakikisha kwamba ripoti tunayoleta katika jumba la Senate ni ripoti kamilifu. Mheshimiwa Spika, unafahamu kwamba matokeo ya tume hii ama komiti hii itaweza kupeana mwelekeo mkubwa katika masuala ya dini na itikadi za kidini katika nchi ya Kenya, na kwamba yote ambayo tutaleta katika jumba la Senate itakuwa kumbukumbu ya kazi ambayo maseneta walipewa kuhakikisha kwamba mambo ya kiroho, mambo ya kidini na mambo ya ujenzi wa taifa yanaweza kudhibitiwa katika muktadha wa maendeleo. Sasa sisi kama komiti tuliomba kwamba tupewe muda mwafaka ili wahusika hawa waje wajieleze, alafu tutamatishe na tulete ripoti katika jumba la Senate ili serikali iweze kutekeleza yale ambayo mapendekezo ambayo tutakuwa tumeleta. Sasa kwa hayo ningependa kuunga mkono yale ambayo mwenyekiti wa komiti amesema, ili tuweze kupewa nafasi tukamilishe yale ambayo tulipewa kufanya. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Ninaunga mkono yote ambayo mwenyekiti nami mwenyewe senator wa kaunti ya Bungoma nimesema. Asante sana.
Honorable Senators, I do propose the question that aware that at the sitting of the Senate held on Thursday, 27th April 2023, the Senate by resolution established an ad hoc committee to investigate the proliferation of religious organizations and the circumstances leading to the death of more than 95 people in Shakahola, Kilifi County, appreciating that the initial mandate of the select committee was due to lapse on Wednesday, 26 July 2023, but was extended for a further 30 days at a sitting of the Senate held on Tuesday, 1st August 2023, to allow the committee to conclude the investigations owing to the evolving nature of the matter at the time, with discovery of new grave sites, noting that the renewed mandate of the committee lapsed on 5th September 2023, and the committee is yet to meet a number of key stakeholders in order to prepare a comprehensive report. Now, therefore, the Senate resolves to renew the mandate of the ad hoc committee by a further period not exceeding 14 days from 5th October 2023, and to table its final report in the Senate on or before 19th October 2023. Honorable Senators, at this juncture, I would have wished to call senators to contribute to this motion, but I want to seek your indulgence that we can skip the contributions to this motion. Or then I'll give you maybe one on each side of the divide to contribute to this motion. Senator Madzayo. Senator Boni Halwale, you could start.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the House will recall that we were part of the team that envisaged the creation of this ad hoc committee, and therefore it gives me a lot of pleasure to see that this committee was indeed necessary. Now that the committee is coming at the tail end of its good work, and knowing that the problem which was sitting at 97 bodies at that time has now grown to over 400 people, 400 bodies, all the more reason why we should allow these 2 weeks for the committee to have a comprehensive report. I support.
Senator Madzayo.
Asante Bispika. Bispika, kwanza ningependa kusema kamati ile tulioiweka kuangalia ama kuchunguza hali ya maafa yaliyotokea na miili kupatikana kifukuliwa ambayo imefika karibu 95 na zaidi, manake mpaka sasa imefika inaenda karibu 500, lakini tukizingatia kwamba watu walipoteza maisha yao, na ingekuwa vyema tupate ripoti ya kisawasawa. Ripoti hii ya kisawasawa inaweza pengine ikapatikana kwa vile ambavyo wale wanakamati wanajisikia wanaweza kumaliza shughuli hii. Ikiwa wameomba muda kidogo ambao wana haja uongezwe ili waweze kukamilisha na kuambia Wakenya ni nini yaliyojiri kulingana na ule uchunguzi waliofanya, basi nafikiri hilo litakuwa ni jambo zuri. Sisi tu kama mimi kama seneta wa Kilifi, nataka kusema kwamba ni jambo la kusikitisha kwamba sisi tunapata vifo kama hivi. Hivi sasa watu wa Kilifi wanahisia, wanasikitika, wako na majonzi kwa sababu ni katika ardhi zao ambapo kila siku uchao watu wanafukua miili wakipata wale watu ambao wafariki. Hata ikiwa hawatuhusu, hata ikiwa hatuhusiani kidamu, lakini wao ni Wakenya kama sisi tulivyo Wakenya. Ni jambo la kusikitisha kama familia wamepoteza jamii zao. Kwa hiyo muda huo wanaouliza ya kwamba waweze kupewa, ikiwa chairman wao ndugu yangu Mungatana anatoka katika maeneo hayo ya huko Pwani, ningependelea kuona ya kwamba ripoti itakayoandikwa iwe ni nzuri na muda waliouliza wapewe, wa hizo wiki mbili wakamilishe kazi inayowafaa. Asante Bwana Speaker. Speaker.
Asante. Thank you, Honorable Senator. I see two more requests. Senator Chiradike, you wanted to comment on this?
Just quick, Madam Speaker, is that to congratulate the committee led by able Senator Danson Mungatana and the committee of investigating Shakahola. Madam Speaker, you know, this is a very critical, although this is a procedural motion, the reason we are extending time for them is to give us earth-shaking, radical proposals into the issue of proliferation of religious organizations in the country. And I think it is never the interest of Parliament or the Senate or National Assembly to regulate per se the operations of religious organizations in this country. Madam Speaker, I want to challenge the committee, take time. Let us have policy, legislative intervention, so that in future, Madam Speaker, we don't have individuals who take advantage of religion. Madam Speaker, we don't want to fall to the trap of Karl Marx that they say religion is the opium of the masses, Madam Speaker. We want them to give us policy, legislative, and even constitutional amendments, Madam Speaker, to ensure that they deliver on their mandate. So, Madam Speaker, I hope in the next days that they have requested, they should be able to table back their report, Madam Speaker. This is a procedural motion. Well, they'll table their report back to the House, Madam Speaker. We'll have opportunity on discussing and debating the report, Madam Speaker, but wish them well. I want to finally thank your office, Madam Speaker, for your magnanimity in facilitating this ad hoc committee. I know there are many austerity measures within your office, but out of your magnanimity, you have ensured that this ad hoc committee functions, and therefore we still appeal for your facilitation, your support through your office and the Secretariat. We are proud. I want to say we are proud of our Secretariat, Madam Speaker. They are doing a commendable, world-class job in all aspects and the committees of this House, including the Shakahola. So let's say, I hope this will put an end to the Shakahola issues once and for all. It is not the interest of Kenyans to see such issues happening again in the future. Madam Speaker, I support.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Wakili Sigei will be the last one to contribute on this.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for granting me also the opportunity to...
Senator Agnes Kavindu, you know what you should do when you are crossing the floor. Can you abide by the standing orders of this House? Senator Wakili.
Thank you once again, Madam Speaker. What the Honorable Senator Mungatana is asking this House to do is to give them an additional 14 days within which to complete and give us a report on the Shakahola stories. We all watched, we read, and we will need to get a comprehensive report from the information they will have collected from the public, from those who have been involved, from victims, or from any other interested party. And they're asking for that which is not too much to ask for. 14 days is reasonable time for them to be able to conclude the process of getting this House and Kenyans at large a report as regards the happenings in the Shakahola in Kilifi County. Indeed, Madam Speaker, it is going to be something that will affect not only the victims or those who are affected or their families, but the country at large, because religious institutions are institutions that cut across each corner of this country. And therefore, as we support, we also wish to indicate to the committee that indeed it's not only this House that is expecting them to give us a report, but the country at large, recalling the fact that there is a committee that was set up, a judicial committee that was set up, which unfortunately was gagged by the courts, and therefore they were unable to proceed. And there is still another ad hoc, I believe, committee that is equally collecting views. That in itself, Madam Speaker, confirms the importance of the role this committee is undertaking for this country. And therefore, asking for an extension of 14 days in my view, is not too much to ask, and I therefore support that this committee be granted that time, and we expect them to give this House and the whole country a substantive report in order to enable us understand and get to know what is the next course of action to be done to protect the people of Kenya, to protect our religious institutions, and to protect also the vulnerable people who in most cases are victims who are the ones who end up suffering. I therefore support.
Thank you, Senator. That marks the end of the debate on that motion, and I call upon the chairperson of that ad hoc committee, Senator Danson Mungatana, to reply.
Madam Speaker, I'm so grateful to the senators who have supported this motion. Madam Speaker, being a procedural motion, I don't want to take time. I'm just grateful that the plenary has given us 14 more days, and we shall be faithful to finish the work that is pending. I thank you, Madam Speaker. I beg to reply.
Pursuant to Standing Order 84-1, I hereby make a determination that the matter does not affect counties. And honorable senators, I put the question that aware that at the sitting of the Senate held on 27th April 2023, the Senate by resolution established an ad hoc committee to investigate the proliferation of religious organizations and the circumstances leading to the deaths of more than 95 people in Shakahola, Kilifi County, appreciating that the initial mandate of the Select Committee was due to lapse on Wednesday, 26 July 2023, but was extended for a further 30 days at the sitting of the Senate held on Tuesday, 1st August 2023, to allow the committee to conclude the investigation owing to the evolving nature of the matter at the time, with discovery of new grave sites, noting that the renewed mandate of the committee lapsed on 5th September 2023, and the committee is yet to meet a number of key stakeholders in order to prepare a comprehensive report. Now, therefore, the Senate resolves to renew the mandate of the ad hoc committee by a further period not exceeding 14 days from 5th October 2023, and to table its final report in the Senate on or before 19th October 2023. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 12, motion, extension of the mandate of the ad hoc committee on the compensation to the Kenyan victims of the 1998 bombing of the United States of America Embassy in Nairobi.
Senator Kavindu Mudhama.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity for the extension of the ad hoc committee for Bomb Blast 1998 in Nairobi, the American Embassy. That aware that the sitting of the Senate held on Thursday, 27th June 2023, the Senate resolved to establish an ad hoc committee to investigate the compensation of the Kenyan victims of the 1998 bombing of the United States of America Embassy in Nairobi, the report and report back to the House within 3 months of the establishment. Realizing that the 3 months period will elapse on 30th of September 2023, but owing the magnitude of the work involved, the committee will not have completed its work within that duration. Noting the need for the more time to carry out through the inquiry into this matter. Now, therefore, the Senate resolves to renew the mandate of the ad hoc committee for a further period of not exceeding 45 days of these resolutions, and to table its final report in the Senate on or before 10th of November 2023. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Can you invite the person to the senator who will second the motion?
I invite Senator Mungatano to second.
Madam Speaker, I beg to second the motion moved by the Honorable Senator Kavindu. Madam Speaker, the committee has been performing a lot of work. We have seen them taking witnesses. We have seen them attending the memorial services. We have seen them engaging. And Madam Speaker, there is no doubt in my mind that this committee has put its best foot forward. So, Madam Speaker, it is clear to us, as the chair of this committee has put it, that there is still pending work that they have not yet finished. We have no doubt that if they are given these 45 more days, they will be able to accomplish the work that is ahead of them. Mr. Speaker, now, I ask the members who are present here to support this motion simply because it is for a good purpose and a good cause. And it is also a procedural motion. We shouldn't have too many arguments about this. I urge the House to support. I beg to second. I thank you.
Honorable Senators, now I propose the question that aware that at the sitting of the Senate held on Thursday, 27th June 2023, the Senate resolved to establish an ad hoc committee to investigate the compensation to the Kenyan victims of the 1998 bombing of the United States of America Embassy in Nairobi and report back to the House within 3 months of its establishment, realizing that the 3-month period lapsed on 30th September 2023, but owing to the magnitude of the work involved, the committee will not have completed its work within this duration, noting the need for more time to carry out a thorough inquiry into this matter. Now, therefore, the Senate resolves to renew the mandate of the ad hoc committee for a further period not exceeding 45 days of this resolution and to table its final report in the Senate on or before the 10th of November 2023. Honorable Senators, I see there are requests to contribute to this motion, and I'll call upon Senator Samson Cherargei.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir, I think mine is just to laud the committee they have been doing. I think this extension of time, Mr. Speaker, is well within the law, because we want them, as I said earlier on, we want this committee to come up with legislative policy interventions that, Mr. Speaker, if such events, God forbid, happens in this republic, we should have a legislative intervention on how we can do such or handle such matters. Mr. Speaker, it's sad that years from 98 up to now, many Kenyans who are victims of bomb blast 98 here in Nairobi, in U.S. Embassy, has yet to be compensated. Even in Nandi, Mr. Speaker, we also have victims of the same. I want to appeal, and if this to enrich, I want to call upon the committee, Mr. Speaker, sir, to continue listening to many stakeholders, so that by the time they write their report, Mr. Speaker, they are able to give us the true picture, legislative and policy. Mr. Speaker, also I expect them to visit, and I saw in their timetable to visit the United States of America and also meet the United States of America Senate, and have comparison, because apparently the comparative analysis between the US Senate and us is almost similar. I wish the team, the committee very well. I know they are people of eminent personalities, We expect this extension, and by the time they table report, we'll be excited to look into the contents. And Mr. Speaker, I believe we shall be able to adopt in the House. I think what is important and the joy of every Kenyan, Mr. Speaker, sir, is the day their justice is served through not only compensation but apology from the American government to the victims. Mr. Speaker, with those very many remarks, I beg to support and wish the committee well under the stewardship of the Senator of Machakos, Kava Mama, Senator Agnes Kavindu, and the team all the best. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Senator Cheptuma.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I will be brief. I am a member of this committee, Mr. Speaker, and I arise to support this motion to extend the time for another 45 days. Mr. Speaker, under the leadership of our chair, Senator Mudhama, we've gathered a number of stakeholders. We've been able to meet the victims of this bomb blast. We were able to meet various stakeholders, Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Health, that is, we saw the CS and the team, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and many other departments, Mr. Speaker. We still have a number of stakeholders that we need to engage, so that, Mr. Speaker, we are able, therefore, to come back to the House with a very comprehensive report. Mr. Speaker, remember, these are Kenyans who have suffered for a very long time. They have not been addressed in terms of the challenges they are facing. There are those whose children have not been able to go to school. They are orphans, they are widows, they are widowers. And Mr. Speaker, it is not a situation we want to come and bring, or rather bring a report here which is not complete and comprehensive. So, Mr. Speaker, the extension is really justifiable. We need also, as said by a colleague here, to go to America. We are already planning to have a session with the Senate and of the US, so that, Mr. Speaker, we look at the legal framework in that country. Because the challenge we have is that there is no legal framework that enables the government of the US to pay the victims of this bomb blast. Mr. Speaker, Kenya is a friend country to the US, and we wanted also to use that relationship, which is cordial, between Kenya and US, Mr. Speaker, to at least be able to push this agenda, so that, Mr. Speaker, we get these Kenyans compensated, and they have been suffering for the last, from 1998 up to now, Mr. Speaker. It is indeed a very, very sad situation. Mr. Speaker, we have had governments. The government of, say, Moi, which this situation arose when he was the president. Kibaki came, 10 years, Mr. Speaker. Uhuru Kenyatta came in again, 10 years. William Ruto now is leading us. So, Mr. Speaker, it is a situation that's really been ignored and neglected for a very long time. And I want to thank my chair here, because it is our own initiative, Mr. Speaker, to raise this issue. And I think it is a moment for this House, Mr. Speaker, to give this committee reasonable time, 45 days, so that we comprehensively conclude these investigations and come back to the House. And, Mr. Speaker, this House also will be counted as the House that was able to rise up and deal with the situation that Kenyans have suffered. Those who got, who became victims of the bomb blast. So, Mr. Speaker, I support, and I believe we're going to come back to the House with a very, very, very comprehensive report for posterity of our country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Boni.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, allow me, in supporting this motion, to use the opportunity to congratulate my sister, Kibeti Kabintu. When Senator started this initiative, little did she know, Mr. Speaker, that the industry was going to catapult her right to the top of the imaginations, not just of many Kenyans, but indeed of the world. This was not a Kenyan problem. It was twin bombing. One happened in Dar es Salaam and the one here in Nairobi. And the rest of the world was rocked by this kind of unreasonableness of people who had lost their minds. I therefore want to agree with those who have spoken before me that the time they're not asking for is not time to waste time, but it is time for them to put the house in order. We should give them, I want to urge you, do not end this exercise until you go to Capitol Hill in the United States of America. They owe us a hearing. Somebody has to tell them the real voice of the leadership of this country on how our people suffered, on how our people died, on how generations that will come after them will always remain wounded by what befell our country in 1998. Mr. Speaker, sir, I support.
Thank you, Senator Boni Halwale. I don't seem to have any other member who is willing to contribute to the motion, and I therefore call upon Senator Mudama to reply.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to reply. And I want to take this opportunity to thank the members of this House who have contributed to this additional extension of days for this motion. Mr. Speaker, I want to say that we have met several stakeholders, and including the victims themselves. We've also been able to call their lawyers in the United States of America. They came to Kenya, we met them. They gave them their background, and Mr. Speaker, I must say that it's a very emotional situation when these victims, survivors appear before us. They cry until we cry, all of us. Those wounds are very fresh in them. It's like it happened yesterday. And so, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank this House, the Liaison Committee also, for the extension, and the business SBC for granting us this 45 days. I want to assure this House, as I said right from the beginning, we will not leave any stone unturned until we see the compensation of our people. Mr. Speaker, I move. I beg to lay. Thank you. I beg to reply. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Mudama. Pursuant to Standing Order 841, I make the determination that the matter does not affect counties, and therefore, honorable members, I put the question that, aware that at the sitting of the Senate held on Thursday, 27 June 2023, the Senate resolves to establish an ad hoc committee to investigate the compensation to the Kenyan victims of the 1998 bombing of the United States of America Embassy in Nairobi, and report back to the House within 3 months of its establishment. Realizing that the 3-month period lapsed on 30th September 2023, and owing to the magnitude of the work involved, the committee have not completed its work within that duration. Noting the need for more time to carry out a thorough inquiry into this matter, now therefore, the Senate resolves to renew the mandate of the ad hoc committee for a further period not exceeding for 45 days of its resolution, and to table its final report in the Senate on or before 10th November 2023. Honorable members, will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as are of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. We now We may now call the next order.
Order number 13, the County Government's Revenue Raising Process Bill, Senate Bills number 22 of 2023, second reading.
What's your point of order, Senator Cherge?
Mr. Speaker, did you, under Speaker's rules and the conduct of the House, did you see the senior counsel, a esteemed member of National Dialogue Committee, walked in casually while you are reading your directions on the matter? Mr. Speaker, can you direct the distinguished member of National Dialogue Committee and the Senator of Nyamira to go back and obey? And he should have frozen. I expected a lot from him, Mr. Speaker, because he's a ranking member, to have frozen when he realized that you are on your feet. Mr. Speaker, can you call him out of order?
Well, Senator Cherge, I did, of course, indeed notice, and I want to give Senior Counsel Okongo Morgan an opportunity to.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I first want to profusely apologize to you and to the House. I've had a very, very long day. I've been at the National Dialogue since morning at 9, not had tea, not lunch. So at my age, my sugar is really down. So when I walked in, I didn't notice. I think I'm also getting bad eyesight. I didn't notice that you're on the chair. I think you can confirm, Chair, you are before us at lunch hour. So I apologize to the chair. It was not deliberate, it was not intentional, and I tender my unreserved apology. This is the first time our standing orders have escaped me, and I want to thank my colleague for pointing that out to me. I apologize, and I assure Chair, Mr. Speaker, sir, this will not be repeated. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Okongo Mogeni, I want to confirm that indeed I appeared before your committee, and it was actually during our lunch hour. We made a commitment before you, especially with regard to time, because we could notice that the sugar levels at that time of the committee members as well as those who were presenting before you was down. I do know very well Senator Okongo Mogeni as a senior counsel. My experience with him for the time I've been in the House has been that of a member without reproach. And I therefore accept your apology without conditions. Apology accepted. Thank you. Honorable members, we will defer order number 13, that is the County Government's Revenue Raising Process Bill, Senate Bills number 22 of 2023, to the next session. And I call upon the clerk to call the next order.
Order number 14, the County Government's Additional Allocations Bill, National Assembly Bills number 23 of 2023, second reading.
Senator Boni Halwale.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise to move the County Government's Additional Allocations Bill of 2023. Mr. Speaker, this is a bill which I hope will establish an act of Parliament to provide for the additional allocations to the county governments for the year 2023-24 financial year, and state the responsibilities of the national government and the county governments pursuant to such allocations and to, Mr. Speaker, connected purposes. Mr. Speaker, the House will recall that when we were passing the bill for the division of revenue, very many people who do not know how devolution works, especially from our good side of the minority, some of them who continue to refuse to read, were calling us names that we were denying county governments money. Far from it. Those who are champions of devolution and the majority are on the government side, knew that there was no bill in this House for allocating money to counties. The bill which was before the House was for dividing money between the national and the county government. And we needed to do it responsibly so that both governments continue functioning. We did it and gave 385.6 billion shillings. And I'm glad that, Mr. Speaker, the time has now come for us to give more money. If this bill goes through, Mr. Speaker, the county governments will now enjoy an excess of over 402 billion shillings, Mr. Speaker. I therefore want to request colleagues that we support this bill, and it is important that as we support the bill, we tell members of the public that additional grants shall be agreed upon by the National Assembly and this Senate during the consideration of the budget, were agreed on during the consideration of budget policy statement. Mr. Speaker, much of these conditional allocations to each county government from the national government share of revenue for the financial year 2023-24 shall be as set out in first schedule, which I'm inviting members to visit and see. And Mr. Speaker, these conditional allocations financed by proceeds of the loans or grants from development partners to each county government for the financial year 2023-24 shall be as set out in column P of the third schedule. It's important that members of the public should know that this comprises of conditional allocations financed by the World Bank, credit to finance agriculture, a rural inclusive growth project as set out in column B. It also includes conditional grants, allocations financed by the International Development Agency of the World Bank. It also includes conditional allocations financed by the World Bank, loan to finance the Kenya Climate Smart Agriculture Project, and further includes conditional allocations from the World Bank, credit to finance water and sanitation program, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, further sources of this money include conditional allocations from the grant by Danida to finance primary health care, whose debate is actually ongoing, as we did in Turkana last week, Mr. Speaker. Further funds are coming from conditional allocations financed by the credit from the World Bank to finance locally led climate action program. Mr. Speaker, it also includes conditional allocations financed by a loan from the government of Sweden to finance agriculture sector development support program. And further, by conditional grants financed by both loan and grant from the German Development Bank to finance drought resilience program in northeastern Kenya. It also includes conditional allocations financed by credit from the World Bank to finance emergency locust response project. Mr. Speaker, we also have conditional financing by a loan from the World Bank to finance the Kenya Informal Settlement Improvement Project. And further, Mr. Speaker, we have conditional allocations from proceeds of loans from the International Fund for Agriculture Development, also known as IFAD, to finance Kenya Livestock Commercialization Project. Mr. Speaker, we have conditional allocations from proceeds of the loan fund for agricultural business development project to set out in column M. Mr. Speaker, sir, finally but not least, part of this money is conditional allocations amounting to Kenya shillings 6,168,700,500,000 financed by proceeds from the World Bank loan for the county climate resilience program. Mr. Speaker, having set out where this money is coming from, it's my pleasure, in conclusion, in moving this very important bill, to inform members of the public that out of this industry, we are now freeing 15,816,000,000 shillings to empower our county governments. I would like, once again, to remind governors that this money that we are today working so hard to ensure that they have is not meant to be at their disposal for self-aggrandizement. It is supposed to be for development. You have seen, out of these allocations, several programs that are addressing the problems that afflict the semi-arid and arid areas. Having come fresh from Turkana, I hope the governor of Turkana is watching this debate. He should make sure that he uses his allocation of these billions to start a structured program of rolling out availability of clean water for the people of Turkana. The shame we saw in Turkana, where little children as young as 5, 6 years, they stand by the roadside, they wave you down, and when you stop, they start telling you a joke, a joke. So when you ask what do they mean by a joke, they are telling you, how are you, peace be with you. Little do you realize that they are making those emotional remarks because they want you to give them water. The moment you give out a bottle of mineral water, you see their faces light up. This must stop. Mr. Speaker, this House must refuse. In the last 10 years, when Governor Nonok, my best friend, was the governor of Turkana, this House, through devolved funds, enabled his government to access over 100 billion shillings. 100 billion shillings. And that is 100 billion shillings before you include the additional allocation from all these bodies. This money, our good friend and governor presided over it. And children of the poor in Turkana, children whose parents have no idea that we exist in Nairobi for their own sake. We owe it to them. With our fat English from our big education and our small English from our own commitment to equity, we owe it to them that we call that monster called corruption that is killing the poor in counties to an end. Mr. Speaker, one day, President Ruto has broken the glass ceiling. A chicken seller has become the president of Kenya. We want to see 10 years on how a chicken seller will turn the economy of this country, and we hope and pray that when the chicken seller exits, he'll hand over to a son of a Changa brewer so that we can change this country. Mr. Speaker, with those remarks, you know, there are many. Mungatana is on my right. I see General Gay, son of a cattle, not a cattle, Mr. Speaker, sir. Yes, a hustler. The other one of cattle was slip of the tongue, son of a hustler. Mr. Speaker, I know with these remarks the distinguished senator of Mandera, immediate former governor of Mandera, a captain, Mr. Speaker, a party leader, Mr. Speaker, the only sitting billionaire who is a senator. Will be very happy to see this bill go through, because this is what he works for in our committee all the time. With those many remarks, I invite Senator Karen Nyamu to second my bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this bill...
Senator Nyamu, just take your seat to facilitate the Honorable Senator Boni to formally move the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My apologies. Senator Nyamu shot out of her seat so fast that I failed to conclude. And in conclusion, Mr. Speaker, with those remarks, I invite Senator Karen Nyamu to second the bill, and I move the bill.
Senator Karen, now you may take the mic to second the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this bill, the County Additional Allocation Bill of 2023, is yet another clear indication of the commitment of the Kenya Kwanza government to entrench devolution in this country. Because this bill comes barely 3 months since His Excellency, the President, William Samoei Ruto, signed into law the County Allocation Bill, the County Equalization Fund Bill. But, Mr. Speaker, this money, and this is a lot of money, it might not be used or utilized as planned if the governors are not patriotic enough and if they do not commit to the roles that they are elected for, and make sure that this money is utilized for projects that are for the betterment of all Kenyans. And Mr. Speaker, I wish to remind my Senate colleagues of the role that we have of oversight to make sure that devolution is working and to be diligent to ensure that this money is utilized in a proper manner that it is meant for. And Mr. Speaker, as I support this bill, as a member of the Nairobi delegation, I still wish to register of the method, my complaints on the method and the formula used to allocate funds each and every time. And Mr. Speaker, just as like the Equalization Fund, this bill is no exception that Nairobi suffers an unfair formula. In the first schedule, Mr. Speaker, Nairobi has been allocated 239 million, with a whopping 5 million residents in Nairobi, with 85 wards. And then, on the other hand, a county like Kilifi, with 1.5 million residents and 35 wards, has been allocated 359 million, Mr. Speaker. Lamu, with 10 wards and 150,000 residents, has been allocated 287 million, Mr. Speaker. Are we being fair to Nairobi? I have said here again, Nairobi is home to some of the biggest slums. The deplorable state of these Nairobi residents keeps being ignored by legislators and policymakers. And I want to call upon the Nairobi leadership, led by our governor, Governor Sakaja, our senator, Senator Sifuna, and we join hands with other leaders and change this narrative for Nairobi once and for all. Because the assumption that just because Nairobi is a seat of government, or just because it is a capital city, the assumption that Nairobi is rich is wrong, and it is a misrepresentation of our people, because majority of Nairobi is slum dwellers. And just because Nairobi contributes the highest to the GDP does not mean that we ignore the Nairobians who are living beyond the poverty level, Mr. Speaker. And with this many or few remarks, I second.
Honorable Senators, I now propose the question that the County Government Additional Allocation Bill, National Assembly Bills number 23 of 2023 be now read a second time. I'll call upon the senators who have requested to contribute to this bill. Let me start with the chairman of the committee, Senator Ali Roba. Senator Roba, proceed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. This is a
Senator Cherargei, what is your point of order?
No, Mr. Speaker, I'm not challenging anything, but you know, we can build traditions. I thought it would have been wise and neat. I'm not saying it is anchored in the law or standing order for the chair, since it is his baby, to listen to contributions of members and maybe put a few things in perspective. I'm not saying it is a must, but requesting the party leader and the chair maybe to hold resources, listen to our thinking, then maybe when he presents it, he can still answer or clarify a few issues. That is my thinking. I am not saying it is in the standing order, just a request.
That's noted, Senator Samson Cherargei, but you will note that this bill has been sponsored by the leader of majority, not the chairperson, Senator Ali Roba. So allow Senator Roba to contribute. I believe Senator Boni Halwale, who moved the motion on behalf of the majority leader, will listen through the contributions by members for his reply at the end of the debate. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, and thank you for informing my colleague, Senator Cherargei, that the bill is sponsored by the majority leader. So I am only contributing as a member, just like you, despite the Committee of Finance processing the bill. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise to support this bill. The County Government Additional Allocation Bill 23, National Assembly Bill, that's the County Government Additional Allocation Bill 2023, National Assembly Bill number 23 of 2023. This bill allocates a whopping 56.18 billion to county governments, which is very, very important contribution in the light of a lot of resource constraints that is happening. Remember, when Division of Revenue bill was getting passed, the discussion was all about that money being too little for county governments. And as such, this 56 billion shilling will go a long way in complementing the budgets of the county governments, conditionally in line with the grant providers such as World Bank, national government, and the rest. Mr. Speaker, sir, the 56 billion in this bill comprises of additional financial allocation from the national government share of revenue amounting to 15.18 billion and conditional allocation to the county government from court fines and mineral royalties amounting to 3.043 billion, conditional allocation from proceeds of loans and grants from development partners totaling to a whopping 33.192 billion, and national government expenditure on devolved functions converted to additional conditional allocation totaling to 4.129 billion. Mr. Speaker, sir, the conditional grant also includes the conditional grant for aggregated industrial parks program amounting to 4.5 billion. This program is planned to be undertaken in 18 counties. Initially, it was envisaged and planned for the 47 counties to benefit from this fund at the rate of about 100 million shillings per county. However, when the preliminary engagements were done between the county government and the national government, it was determined that 100 million will be too little to do any meaningful industrial park program. And as such, the decision was reviewed to start with the first 18 counties that appeared to be extremely ready to pick up, where instead of 100 million, 250 million was conditioned to be allocated to these 18 counties with a condition that these 18 counties match up the money with the 29 county governments. The remaining 29 county governments will be allocated similar amounts in the subsequent financial year, the coming financial year. Mr. Speaker, sir, the role of the Senate is a strengthening of devolution, protection of devolution among the legislative representation and oversight role that we undertake. This release of this 56 billion shilling to county government is a very critical function of the Senate. As you already are aware, Mr. Speaker, that the first quarter of the financial year has already lapsed. And further delay in approving this additional allocation is going to really put the utilization of the fund from the donors and the conditions that have been assigned to these funds and the National Treasury being able to release the funds in time. It's going to make it very difficult for the implementation of the fund and either lead to lack of release of funds from the National Treasury to the beneficiary county governments, or the funds being released too late for county governments to be able to absorb the funds in line with the conditions that are required. As I would like to urge our colleagues in the Senate to really prioritize the conclusion of this bill as a matter of urgency. It has already gone through the National Assembly and it has undergone some amendment under the committee as recommended, because some funds that were left out have been included, which means the bill will have to go for negotiation between the National Assembly and the Senate, delaying the process even further. Mr. Speaker, sir, as I give that information, I beg to support. Thank you.